Welcome to the behind the scenes video of our animated movie Cloudboy. We're super excited to show you this, so let's get started.
In total, we did 60 shots of full CG animation, 14 artists and 15 weeks of production time in total. But first, everything starts with an idea.
We chose a slightly stylized look for our film. Together with Daan Janmaat, we created the entire visual foundation of the movie, from first sketches to final designs.
Now let's get to know Cloudboy, shall we? With his trusty hippogriff and dragon who helps to take care of his sheep. To get to know Cloudboy, our hero, a little bit better, I'll hand it over to Eva.
Howdy, Cloudboy. Young, shy, inexperienced, but determined to become a true Cloudboy. His design projects his journey, but keep it realistic looking. Tall, slim, messy hair, and a slightly bigger nose for an awkward, relatable charm. His little too big cowboy hat, that's part of his body, making the silhouette instantly recognizable and symbolizes his biggest challenge, growing into the role he's destined for.
And what is a Cloudboy without his loyal steed? In order to stay true to the fantasy theme, we opted for a hippogriff, so half horse, half bird. We stuck with the anatomy of a horse and the strikingly blue feathered head and tail of a pheasant. He serves as a stoic teacher for Cloudboy, and most importantly, he has wings to fly him into the storm.
Our little friend had to be a mixture between a dragon and a sheepdog, so he can fly alongside Cloudboy and help keep the sheep in check.
We started with the other version than Cloudboy than how you guys know him right now. We started with this one. Previs was for us really important because we designed every shot at the beginning with the director like this. Now I'll show you how a shot turned from a previous shot into the final product. So we have previs, then we have one version like at the start, it's a version after some feedback. Then we have a new version that was one of the final versions of animation, and after that you have the final shot.
To develop the previs, we employed performance capture. This way, animation, cinematography and directing could all come together before the film was even made to decide on important bits like camera positions and blocking. This way we had a very nice foundation, so we could comfortably know what the film was going to look like and what the visual language of the film would be before production even started.
Once the shots were locked, we brought the personalities of the characters to life through animation. Cloudboy starts the film off unsure of himself. But by the end of the film, he has grown into a much more confident person, reflected in his posture and movement. The dragon is playful, inspired by the behavior of dogs. These character traits allows us to tell the story through animation, without using a single word of dialogue.
For this project, we created a context-based USD workflow. This required a bunch of different nodes. All these nodes were dependent on the context options. These are collected from ShotGrid. This makes it possible for a single file to work on every shot.
After our hero was brought to life, he of course needed some clothes. And the clothes should move according to the movement of Cloudboy and to the wind. For this, we created a CFX system in Houdini that was usable by all kind of artists. We used this for over 45 shots.
Cloudboy's hippogriff can't be missed. That's why we set up a complex CFX system, giving our artists the controls they needed. We didn't want to be solely dependent on simulation. That's why we built in post-sim controls for things like stiffness. Our USD pipeline gave our lighting artists quick access to our latest versions, which was essential for our collaboration.
Here's our flying little friend. As artists, we want control over how wrinkly their wings are or how loosely they are. And to save some computing time, we first simulated on some low poly geo. Then we stick the high poly geo back on it to get some details back. And that's how our flying little friend can fly through the whole movie.
The most important part for our storm setup was speed. We needed the animation department to be able to make changes to the layout and effects department to make changes to specific clouds. For the hill we needed to make it as simple as possible, since a lot of people were running the shots. That's why we made a robust setup. The artist only needed to make tiny changes.
Of course our film wouldn't be complete without a scary antagonist. To make sure our animators had full control over the silhouette of the sheep, we built a simple proxy fleece into our rig with a slider to control the size. Then in Houdini, we procedurally processed the proxy fleece into a nice cloud-shaped source volume, which we then simulated with Pyro. Because this needed to work for multiple sheep per shot, we used a PDG system to split all the sheep apart and send them over our render farm separately.
And what would our hero be without this book to guide him through his adventure? So we added simulation controls to control how fast the wind blows through the pages, so you can feel the real impact of the storm.
Because of our environment, we were challenged with creating interesting shadows in our desert. So we created our own shadow catchers to create some depth in the shot.
During the storm we needed total darkness, yet Cloudboy still had to be visible. We used the clouds as a diffuse filter to create a heavy atmosphere without losing the object.
We also created a light rig that followed Cloudboy through the storm, so the compass had control after rendering over the light directions.
For Cloudboy, we aimed for a balance between photorealism and a lightly stylized look. That's why in compositing we added effects such as lens distortion, lens flares, chromatic aberration, grain and more. Small imperfections you recognize from real film footage that make the image feel much more believable. And color also supports our story. We go from a warm morning light to a cold storm and finally a red deep sunset, which we shaped through color grading and relighting in compositing. And behind every shot in this movie there's a virtual camera, but we wanted to make it feel like a real one. So we analyzed real lenses and digitally recreated their optical characteristics. With a custom nuke node, we could automatically apply all those properties to every shot, as if the entire film was filmed through those lenses.
And lastly, the storm. We created an advanced setup in Nuke to control lightning in the clouds when and where we wanted it. This we combined together with individual light passes to create interaction onto the character. Together with added elements like hail and fog and even a lens effect called rolling shutter, we really strive to capture the chaos in the storm.